The Remembrance Poppy turns 100 this year, as does our promise to never forget those who fought for our freedom. To honor this promise and preserve each soldier's memory, a new tribute is born. Introducing the Immortal Poppy. We return to the birthplace of this powerful symbol to collect the same poppies that inspired John McCrae's poem, so we could capture their beauty in exacting detail and create a digital replica as timeless as our gratitude. All 118,000 fallen Canadians grace its petals and the walls of a virtual cenotaph. Their names and memory are forever linked to the blockchain, eternally preserving them in the form of 100 collectible NFT poppies. Each NFT perpetually raises funds for the Royal Canadian Legion every time it is sold or resold, making the giving immortal too. An act of remembrance guaranteed to last beyond the next 100 years.
Welcome to Bourbon Street. It's November 12th, and I'm joined by Lindsay this week. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm good. What an amazing program. And this will sound like I'm being a little bit negative, but like the Legion is embracing like NFTs and doing something that's absolutely amazing. I think it's a really cool initiative.
I know, it's amazing to see that. And I had seen in one of the local grocery stores, they've now done the pay to Poppy, I think it's called, the dispensers in partnership with HSBC. So when I was at the grocery store, I was like, oh my gosh, like how much has the Legion evolved? This is so impressive. And now they're into NFTs. So very cool and pretty incredible how they're honoring all the fallen soldiers. And what a way to do it in the 100th anniversary of the Poppy.
Absolutely. Speaking of remembering great people, in April of 2018, Anne-Marie D'Amico was the first victim of the Toronto van attack. And there's a big fundraiser coming up, so I'm going to have my Bourbon Street audience indulge me for a minute. I want to share a little bit of information about it. I'm going to hear from MPP Stan Cho first.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I rise today in honor of International Women's Day. Although women in Ontario have made great strides for equality in the boardrooms, political arenas, and hockey rinks, they continue to earn less, face harassment, discrimination, and in worse cases, violence. Almost 3 years ago, a man drove a rented van down the sidewalks of Yonge Street in Willowdale, killing 10 people and injuring 16. This heinous, cowardly act of violence was a deliberate attack aimed at women in my community. One of the 8 women killed that day was 31-year-old Anne-Marie D'Amico. In the wake of the tragedy, Anne-Marie's family created the Anne-Marie D'Amico Foundation as a way to find light in the darkest of times and to honor her memory. The Anne-Marie D'Amico Foundation works tirelessly to create new spaces for abused women and children in the North York Women's Shelter. Of the 10 new spaces they created this past year, all were quickly taken by victims of domestic abuse. Abuse that in many cases, Speaker, was made worse by the pandemic, where vulnerable women already living in unstable conditions were being trapped in a house with their abuser. Speaker, as we celebrate International Women's Day and the contributions made by women in our lives and communities, let us also acknowledge and thank organizations like the Anne-Marie D'Amico Foundation for the work they have done for victims of domestic abuse, and let us all join the fight to end violence against women everywhere. Thank you.
Now, we both know there's a lot of great fundraisers out there, Lindsay. Anne-Marie D'Amico's nickname when she was a youngster was the Turtle. Every year on December 3rd, which is her birthday, her family is celebrating her. And they're holding a great event. It's going to be hosted by Tara Sloan. It's going to have great entertainment like Posey and comedians and other musicians like Crash Adams. So it's coming up. I know people are just getting back into indoor events, and they'll be at Meridian Hall, and it'll be an amazing evening. So now let's turn our attention to Weekly Pulse, and to kick things off, speaking of vaccines, the world is now racing back to the United States. So let's have a quick look at what's going on, kicking off Weekly Pulse in the world of vaccines.
freedom at last, as the US lifted travel restrictions after more than 600 days, a lifetime for the Patel family.
So my nephew, my mum's first grandson, we haven't met him, he's just turned 1, so we're really excited.
From the UK across Europe, check-in lines were long but cheerful.
We saw a 600% increase. We'll be at full capacity in terms of seats and flights by April 2022.
Passengers must be fully vaccinated and present a negative COVID test.
I think we will be the first Brits in America.
Yeah, Joel read something this morning that said that 2 planes took off at the same time from the UK, and they're both going to NYC.
Yeah.
And we were like calculating the time, and we were like, we're going to get there first.
We're going to get
to America first.
It's been so emotional, and it has for millions of families all over the world, but this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Thank you so much to everybody.
Pretty amazing. I love the dual plane takeoff.
I know, such a picturesque moment. I also love the couple that was like racing the plane. Like, did you see footage of a couple claiming to be the first in America?
Amazing. Have you traveled to the US yet?
I have not, but my parents, so they're snowbirds. They were amongst the many that were at the border on the 8th. And the craziest thing to me is they were not asked for proof of vaccination. Like, we know that PCR tests are not required at lane crossings, but they were not asked for proof of vaccination. So I'm excited for these reunions. I'm so happy for all the folks, that haven't got to see their relatives, their nieces, their nephews, everything that you're hearing, the tourism industry. But part of me is like watching with one eye open, like just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, when are we going to be back in this thing?
We don't want to go backwards, but I will give a little bit of advice. So I went to Texas a couple weeks ago. I'm going to Los Angeles next week. On my flight 2 weeks ago, I got to the airport. The lineups are horrendous. 25 people did not make our flight, even though they delayed it by an hour and a half. So if you're going to America via plane, go early. If you're going by car, don't worry about it, because you don't even need your vaccine.
Don't need a vaccine.
Now let's shift gears, think about booster shots and this most recent announcement about the Pfizer booster.
Is a boost in your future? Health Canada has given the green light to COVID-19 booster shots Tuesday, but all this comes as international health agencies are asking to hold off.
All right, I'll get you to hold that for a minute.
Third doses already in the arms of many Canadians, focusing on higher risk populations. But Canadian politicians now faced with a moral dilemma. Health Canada has approved Pfizer vaccine for booster doses for all adults 6 months after their initial 2 vaccines. But should we wait to triple vax the general public?
Most countries with high vaccine coverage continue to ignore our call for a global moratorium on boosters at the expense of health workers and vulnerable groups.
The World Health Organization pleading with richer countries to wait until more of the global population has had access to vaccines.
So what are your thoughts on that, Lindsay? And you've got kids. I'm sure you're eagerly awaiting when it gets approved for children. What are your thoughts on boosters?
I think, when you think about things domestically, as the vaccine is weaning off, at the 6-month mark, they're saying, there's a lot of reason to be excited about it, but I can't help but feel the same as was just mentioned. Even if there's some benefit that's derived from these booster doses, I think it pales in comparison to the suffering that we're seeing in these poorer countries that could be totally, saved by these vaccines. So it's a real, ongoing debate and an ethical issue. And I do wonder, though, if you're offered the 3rd dose and you were to pass on it, is it really being redirected, or do you take advantage of what's happening within the country? It's a real debate.
The other thing we're seeing even in Canada is that remote parts of Canada where people aren't taking the vaccine are currently the COVID hotspots. So, it is a struggle. I'm a bit flabbergasted that with all the technology and transportation we have now, that we haven't been able to help those other countries. But we also have to face the harsh reality that this is not a vaccine for life. So it's a challenging one. One of the industries that was most affected by COVID was the fitness industry. And, I was one of the many who went out and got a Peloton. Now people are going back to gyms. Let's have a quick look at what's going on in the fitness world, because the impact of vaccine is really shifting who's succeeding and who's not.
But we start off with an earnings alert on Peloton. Shares are plunging 25% after the fitness platform reported its latest quarter. Christina Parsonevelis got all the details. Christina.
Yeah, Peloton shares down 25%, and this after quarterly results just failed to impress across the board. Peloton posted a net loss of $1.25 a share on total revenue of $805.2 million, I should say, when the street was expecting 810. Q1 gross profit dropped 20% year over year. As people head back to work and the gym, the allure of the bikes might be wearing off. The company says that the bikes, which are $400 cheaper than they were just a few months ago, are appealing to younger and less affluent consumers, their fastest growing customer segment. In other words, they're sacrificing margins to increase market share. Quote, "This informs our decision to prioritize accessibility and household acquisition over near-term profitability."
Did you guys buy a Peloton?
We didn't. I wish I did, to be honest, but I'm glad that I waited for the price to slash.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I also heard a rumor the other day that Tonal, which LeBron James has just invested in, is actually looking at buying out Peloton. But I do think it's kind of interesting. You've got these businesses, right? Home delivery and food. Now the restaurant's open, sort of the accordion effect. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what's next.
So as a Peloton owner, will you go back to the gym or will you stick to your home fitness regime?
I'm doing my workouts at home, but I'm back in the squash court 4 days a week and loving it. So what I love about a Peloton is it's there. It's a short commute, right? When you want to get a quick workout in, it's there waiting for you. And I think they'll even start thinking about their programming a little bit differently. How do they become a complement to the boot camp, to the gym, to the place you used to go to?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to jump into sponsorship bets on Bourbon Street this week, and going to start off with a video that I will just caution you, for all of us in this business, is probably going to cause you to lose a little sleep.
Let me caution people not to buy into the rumors, okay? Because there are a lot of rumors, but nothing is left off the table.
I'm honestly just devastated. I could never imagine anything like this just happening.
You know, it is supposed to be a good time, and this is not something you would expect me doing after going to a festival, going to a memorial for the people that died in this festival.
And when we read these ages, 14, 16, 21, 21, 23, 23, 27, it just breaks your heart.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's really tough to watch. All these people, waiting so long, lockdown for 2 years, and finally get to go to a festival, and this is what's happened. It's gut-wrenching to watch.
I was reading the other day that in the 54-year-old crisis management plan, 54-page crisis management plan that they had, that Stampede and a crowd surge was not part of it. So my question to you is, you've got Live Nation's promoter, you've got a high-profile personality here, Travis Scott. If you're a brand, you're a company that's sponsoring a big event like this, what are the lessons here? Because this one is absolutely devastating.
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw something similar. They had plans in place for active shooter and bomb threats and severe weather, and not for protocol for a crowd surge. And I think the craziest part about it is I did some reading on Travis Scott, and he's been known to incite this sort of riots at past shows. So you would think in a 2-year hiatus, you'd have enough time to plan for this. But yeah, as a brand in this case, I'd want to stay as far away from this as possible. And I think it almost becomes a bigger conversation. I mean, they didn't have proper egress. They didn't have, I almost feel like brands should be heavily involved in understanding all of the, protocols that are going into some of these events that they're putting their names on prior to doing so.
Yeah, because that's really my question. It's not about whether brands get involved now. It's really, how do you as a brand, you're going to sponsor a 50,000 person festival. You're going to sponsor 7 days camping in a desert. How are you protected? Because ultimately, if your brand's associated there and all those steps weren't taken.
Exactly. There's almost got to be a list now of every protocol that you need in order to sign up and feel safe to put your name on something like this. And same with the headliners. Like it's even, as you know, Travis Scott, Drake, Live Nation, they're all being sued. Lawsuits are underway, and you got to think the same about them. And it's really hard to say, where the accountability that line is drawn.
Well, I certainly think Live Nation's got to get their acting gear, and you read the stories of 20-year-old sisters going to the concert and being separated, and one dying, and so absolutely horrendous. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we look at athletes and think that they are bigger than they are, that they're more than just this physical being that can throw a football or shoot a basketball or swing a baseball bat. I gotta tell you, like, this Aaron Rodgers COVID thing has just provided a ton of content for last week. So let's have a look at what's going on, and as a Steeler fan, what my man Terry Bradshaw has to say about all this.
I'd give Aaron Rodgers some advice. It would have been nice if he'd have just come to the Naval Academy and learned how to be honest, because that's what you did, Aaron. You lied to everyone. I understand, immunized. What you were doing was taking stuff that would keep you from getting COVID-19. You got COVID-19. Ivermectin is a cattle dewormer. Sorry, folks, that's what it is.
But we learned today Purveya is sacking the MVP quarterback. In a statement this afternoon, Purveya said it made its decision to end its partnership with Rodgers effective immediately. Purveya says it remains deeply committed to protecting patients, staff, providers, and this community during the pandemic, which includes encouraging and helping all eligible populations get vaccinated against COVID-19.
Jake from State Farm. You here to jam?
Aaron?
No, just an aspiring singer-songwriter with my bandmates. Here giving out that Rodgers rate to regular folks like us.
State Farm has rates that fit anyone's budget.
Is that so? Mahalo, Kiki. In that case, this one goes out to an ex-best friend of mine who took my rate, just gave it away.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
I didn't catch you there, Mark, but that was. I feel like I could
unmute the whole time. Was I really on mute the whole time? Nobody tells me. Come on, guys, tell me I'm mute. Okay, let me repeat myself.
Okay.
All right. Unmuted. It says actually on here, unmute Mark. Lindsay, talk. Quick, panic. Aaron Rodgers asked early in the season, "Are you vaccinated?" He said, "I'm immunized." Whatever that means. He's taking this horse cure stuff. He gets dumped by his healthcare sponsor. State Farm's sticking with him. At 2:00 today, State Farm's calling Lindsay and asking for some advice. What's your advice?
Oh man, I said I could go off on this like Stephen.
Go.
If you lie about being vaccinated, how can you possibly be believable as a product spokesperson? Like, get away from this guy. Insurance is not supposed to be insurance is a safe bet. It's not supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be deceptive. It's a serious subject that you don't want a controversial figure associated with you. Yet they stood by him. However, I've seen, the ad rotation over the last 3 weekends. So initially he was in about 20% of their spots, and that dropped to 2% last Sunday. So while they said outwardly they're standing by him, obviously they're a little bit nervous on the behind the curtain.
I'm with you. So now let's talk about the latest Canadian partnership between a celebrity and a brand. I know that you go to Tim Hortons every day, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, sure.
Not really. When I was a kid in Aurelia, I used to love the bow tie, which was this big, long donut with chocolate and whipped cream and cherry on. What's your favorite Tim Hortons donut?
That's a great question. I'm a Timbit, because of the kids. I'm a Timbit, Timbit house, and it's the chocolate glazed all day. I could do a whole pack of those.
So let's go from chocolate glazed. This video about Tim Biebs.
Have a seat. We have some coffee for you. And I'm just going to take you through it. Mm-hmm. So, Justin, you've always loved Tim's.
Obsessed.
Which is why we're so excited to partner with you to create brand new Timbit flavors.
Let's go.
Brainstorming.
Could you imagine if we did a birthday cake waffle Timbit?
Oh my. Yes. I can't even read my writing. It's so good.
Think. Apple, banana.
Apple. No.
Thinking cap. Put on the thinking cap.
Yeah.
Apricot latte.
Yes.
No, that's weird.
Sorry.
Think, just think.
Yeah, get it out.
Sour cream chocolate chip.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What if we do a chocolate white fudge?
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now all we need is a name. Timbits by Justin Bieber. No? Justin Bieber's Timbits.
I got it. Tim Biebs.
It's perfect.
Introducing my new Tim Biebs. Birthday cake waffle, sour cream chocolate chip, and chocolate white fudge. Only at Tim's.
There you go.
I love it. I mean, what's more Canadian than Justin Bieber and Tim Hortons? It's a perfect pair. I would love to know what the investment was.
Oh, you and me both.
Or did he just do it out of the goodness of his heart, you know, being a local Canadian? But no, jokes aside, I feel like great move on Tim Hortons. I mean, they are desperate to capture, you know, Justin Bieber's target audience when we're talking about Gen Z and young millennials. And I think they've done a great job at this. I mean, media blew up the last few days. People are loving it. People are laughing at the name Tim Biebs. That's a different story. Some of the options that were thrown out there are frightening.
Right.
But I think it's great. And I think that they'll probably reap benefits here, not only in Canada, but obviously as they continue to break through in the US. And I'd love to see the sales and how this chances or, you know, turns things over for them if it does. And I'd also love to know what Tim Biebs donut you would order first.
I'm still gonna go back to my bow tie, although I'm with you, Tim Bits, Tim Biebs, they're all challenging. But I have to tell you, what was your favorite? What was your favorite moment out of that commercial?
I just love that he was involved in the process. Right. I love that, you know, he was so like cavalier about it, and that was my favorite. The humor to that. How about yourself?
Well, their ad agency is got out of Miami, and they opened up a Toronto office. And I know that often, you know, Tim Hortons and hockey is a bit cliche. I love the fact that they turned the hockey helmet into the thinking cap. That little line there, I love that. Here, share the thinking cap. And also kind of gave me memories of the kid when we used to play shinny, and you literally, if you didn't have enough helmets, you'd just share the helmet around. But that's a whole other meeting. Heading down the path of potential partnerships that haven't gone well. There's an Amazon TikTok ad featuring Terry Crews that's all over the net that is not being super well received. So let's have a look.
We're here. I heard Amazon was hiring a bajillion people and thought I'd take a look for myself. Do you have to go with the arrow up? Yeah. The arrow up. So Amazon does pay for tuition?
Yep.
So what do you think my major should be? Hi, Savannah. Hi, Terry. Wait, I get to drive a forklift? Benefits, tuition, and flexible hours. They're hiring everywhere, so check it out for yourself.
Okay, so I want to take the bias. I want to hear your opinion, and then I'm going to share my opinion, which might be a little bit controversial. I'm just going to warn you, but what are your thoughts?
So I think upon first look, if you didn't know the background on how some of these Amazon employees are treated, like the monotonous nature of the work, the surveillance of their productivity, you know, things are coming out now that their bathroom breaks were monitored. If you didn't know all that, I'd see this as a pretty fun spot. But we do know that now. And so it's obviously totally backfired on Amazon, which is incredibly unfortunate. Hopefully it draws light to, you know, what they have been doing and how their treatment of their employees is going. And I'd say another crazy thing that I saw was, you know, Terry Crews is wearing a luxury watch,
right?
Valued anywhere they're predicting 20 to 30K. And these warehouse employees are making 35K annually tops. So it's just like they're out to lunch when they thought that this was a good alignment.
My only comment is for all the people that are hating out there, promise me you'll never use Amazon again. They can say all you want. Okay, so now it's time to move on to an incredible climate change summit. And I want to hear from President Obama first and then get your thoughts on COP26 and corporate involvement.
If we are going to act on the scale that's required, climate change can't be seen anywhere in the world as just an opportunity to score political points. And for those listening back home in the US, let me say this. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if your Florida house is flooded by rising seas, or your crops fail in the Dakotas, or your California house is burning down. Nature, physics, Science do not care about party affiliation. Existing political institutions move slowly, even when leaders are well-intentioned. Business leaders, let's face it, are typically rewarded for boosting short-term profits, not addressing major social issues. Getting people to work together on a global scale takes time. And right now, that's time we don't have.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah, love hearing him speak.
So what's your thought? Again, we talked a lot today about endorsers, but what should brands and businesses be doing as it relates to climate, in your opinion?
I think we talk a lot about this. I mean, you have to walk the walk. You can't go out there and greenwash. You know, we've talked a lot about this. But yes, I think we've seen that from a political standpoint, we can't rely on these politicians. We've gone from like a binding pledge to lofty promises with no accountability. And so it is incumbent on businesses to step up. And you know, what Obama said there was so telling. You know, businesses are focused on short-term profits. So it's got to be a huge collective long-term effort to make change. And, you know, we've seen some businesses that are doing wonderful things. I'll even speak to, you know, Maple Leaf Foods, one of our very own clients. You know, they're the first carbon neutral food company in the world. Like, there are businesses that are walking the walk. But then there are others that aren't. Like, when we look at the automotive industry, many of the big names have joined the new car emissions pledge, but a lot haven't. Like, we're talking BMW, Hyundai, Toyota. They have not joined this pledge. So I'd be curious as to know, you know, what their thoughts are, or if it really is just, you know, come down to greed and that short-term profit.
Well said. I think we need to spend more time on this going forward. You know, it's November 12th, and you go to Starbucks, and already the Christmas cups are out, and brands are doing their various holiday programs. Can you believe that Coca-Cola has launched their Christmas ads? And I mean, since they did invent Santa Claus, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. So I'm going to thank you for joining me here on November 12th and set everybody off in a bit of a holiday mood with some magic from Coca-Cola.
Thanks, Mark.